Happy Easter Monday for everyone that is here. If you celebrate Easter, I hope you had a wonderful day with friends and family yesterday, and hopefully celebrated Easter and the resurrection in a great way.
My family actually passes over that holiday.
Wow, it's a good Easter joke, Dylan. Um, we are gonna do a 201 today. It looks like we might end up doing this 201 another point because of the numbers, but does not hurt to do it here. So just to continue with kind of how we've been framing things, the two focus is if you are a new ambassador, Ambassador 201 is kind of the second step on teaching you how to use the back end, how to navigate, where to go. If you are an existing ambassador, one, this is a good refresher, but two, this might help you all when you are also training ambassadors underneath you or when you all are growing. And so that's kind of the framework of today and what we'll be diving into. Dylan, Patrick, anything I missed?
No, we have some people in the office too, who'll be joining the call just to listen in. The reason we have people like that is just this is really good information for everyone to know. If you remember the 101 that we did, it was very basic. We didn't dive too much into what the statistics page were. We didn't really talk about the actual meat and potatoes, if you will, of the actual root site. And we're going to plan to do a 301 in the future. So if you have any questions as we go through, we'll stop a lot to let people ask questions.
Yeah, and the 301 is going to be a deep dive into the comp plan, and we will bring Clayton in on that one to lead it since he is definitely the expert on that. So we'll give you all a heads up when that's the one that we'll be doing. We just have to work it around Clayton's schedule. So today I'm gonna share oh, I can't share my screen, Dylan.
I got it. I got it.
We're going to do a deep dive into the statistics, the genealogy, and then the documents page. And so, just as a recap, last week, and I'm going to quickly go over this. Um, this is the teacher side of me again. But if you all are ever training people in your community, it is great to do a quick like a refresh on what you did the previous time when lessons connect. So what we did last time is we showed them really how to use referral links, how to use, creating different links, creating it so it goes directly to PDPs. We also had people do a deep dive into the documents on their own. So hopefully they did that, or you all did that as a refresher. And then we did a quick overview of the statistics just so any new ambassadors or ambassadors underneath you know where they can find information.
And Duquesne, real quick, check your WhatsApp just before we keep going.
I guess that's true. You could have just said that.
I just want to make sure. We're gonna have Duquesne go to his work account. That way, in case there's any personal information on emails or stuff like that, there's nothing that's given out.
I was using my personal just because it shows more information, but I also see your point. Ba-ba-dum-ba-dum.
Yeah, apologize. I should just had that before. Um, as he's doing that though, um, for anyone who needs a little refresher, last time for the 101, we did talk pretty heavily about referral links and how to make different links and add different products into a cart and share that. So if you missed that, please go watch the 101 video because it was very basic, but we did dive into how to really sell or sorry, share with your root account and referral link.
Well, not exactly working for me. Dylan, you might have to share yours.
I got it.
Hey Dylan, also Barbara's here for interpretation.
Let me add that then.
Yeah, I got mine. Took a little practice. It's actually my uncle's, but that's okay because nobody's on his. So you all don't bug Robert if you ever meet him.
And real quick before you keep going, I know we're all over the place today. Uh, Barbara should be set up for Slovenian translations now, so we should be good to go for all translations.
So again, that refresher was any new ambassador before they do a deep dive into the statistics page should know how to do a referral link, should have a deep dive on that. They should have been shown where the documents are so they can at least start clicking around. And then you can start doing a lesson that is a little bit more of a deep dive on statistics. Now, the caveat to this was if anybody ever asks, don't refuse to answer a question. So don't be like, no, it's too early. I'm not going to explain this page to you. But it is good to break it up and not overwhelm people. We've talked with a lot of ambassadors on country calls, when we do one-on-ones, where they feel like they overwhelm people and make it too much, and then they basically run them off. And so we want to help you all not do that and also help new ambassadors who are here not feel overwhelmed.
And one of the big things about waiting to dive into some of the stuff we're going to talk about is because if they just made their account, they just became an ambassador, or they're trying to become, they don't have any sales, none of this information is going to mean anything to them. So letting them see the system work, letting them see their wallet, have funds pending, have funds go through, and have different buttons pop up, then you come bring them back and you can really say, hey, you see what's going on here? Let me talk you through this.
So when we're on the statistics page, first place to start is that there's 4 tabs up top. So the progress tab is where most people spend their time. It's where you get a lot of information. We'll see there's a little dashboard basically that gives you an overview. This dashboard is very important, and we have a tool to help people learn about this dashboard and what it's showing a bit later. So we'll deep dive into that. I want to go over the other 4 tabs up top though. There's also a commissions tab. It will show nothing here, but what that does is it shows people what they've earned month over month. If you are talking with a new ambassador, or if you are a new ambassador, you'll probably only have 1 or 2 months here. But that is the points that you earn that are actually going to your wallet. There's also a volume tab that will show you the monthly volume.
And that will be broken down per individual on
Yeah.
your account, which is pretty cool.
And then lastly is this new feature we've done, which shows your level 1 and your level 2. I would not deep dive into monthly volume too heavily until you've gone over the comp plan with them, because it has a little bit more detail once you start getting into, level 2 volume and what they're doing there. Also, a lot of this is showing, as you all who know or have been here a while, the monthly growth for level 1 and level 2 is showing your month over month. And that won't matter as much for people who are newer because they won't have that comparison. So we're going to go back to the progress page. Again, this is a good page to know what it is when you are first starting. It's kind of a little snapshot on how your ambassador business is doing. So one of the things that is so important when people first learn this is to bring up the document that explains what a lot of our acronyms mean. And I'm curious if anyone in our community knows where you can find that document that gives an explanation on what the different acronyms mean, like QRSP or CSP. Does anyone know where to find that? Claire, I see your hand. I see Verina's too, but I'll pick on Claire first. Where'd she go? Oh, she's muted. Dylan, can you click to unmute her?
For
Claire.
Claire, can you raise your hand? I got it. Thank you. Can you unmute now?
We might be switching over to Verena. Claire, I know you knew it, but we're going to move on to Verena.
Oh, I got it.
You got it?
I
Oh,
got
there
it.
you go. Sorry.
It finally worked. It took a couple of clicks for it to work. Yeah, it's on the compensation plan.
Yep, exactly. Thank you, Claire. So if you go to documents and then you go to root rewards, I'm picking English, and then you click root rewards plan. So if you click that and you go to the second to last page, there is an almanac that explains all of our terms. And I am 80% positive that almost half our ambassadors don't know about this page because it is so helpful. And this was when I started at the company, Patrick had me just look at this page for about 2 days and just go to him with any questions. And so I spent my first couple days looking at this and just going through it and trying to figure out what different things mean and where I could find them on the website. Okay. So when I'm on the statistics page, I can use it as a teaching opportunity because I can show people, all right, QRSP, let's learn what that is. Yeah, Nicole, that's a great idea. It's good to have it printed out. I should copy that actually. And so if you go to the almanac, you'll see that QRSP is the sum of your RSP over the last 30 days. Well, then the question is going to be, well, what is RSP? RSP is the total SP generated by everyone in your root system over the last 30 days. And lastly, that brings us to SP. It's the point value of a product eligible for calculating commissions, bonuses, and rank. So the sales point is kind of common sense, but the sales point is what each product sold is worth that will go towards your ranking.
And just one thing to add into this, certain products such as like ebooks, some products just don't add root goods. So if you buy a root good like a hoodie or a jacket, or sorry, a hat and a product, you might see that the qualified root sales points only add up to the product. That's because the sales points aren't based on just the sale, it's based on the points calculated for your volume. Hope that made sense.
Um, Bianca, this one might be recorded and uploaded. We'll probably end up having to do another one of these because of the number, but we will definitely we'll have one uploaded where people can see this. I know, and Joni and I have talked about this a lot. Nurse Christy and I have talked about this a lot. But one of the things that is special about what is going on with Root is that the sales points for the core for products that you're ingesting or anything like that are actually the price of the products. That is not the case with a lot of companies. And so that is a great thing to point out to people. If you're buying zero in, the price of zero in is the full amount of sale points you get. We don't include taxes and shipping, but the core price of the product is that.
And
So,
if you weren't here on the last call, Duquesne did mention the average sale is about $150 for
yeah.
products. So that means on average, most ambassadors are receiving sales points equal to around 150 USD, which is amazing for anyone who's trying to become a sales unit for this company.
So it will show you the QRSP. It will show you the percent you're there for the next rank. That is huge. And ambassadors, new ambassadors love it because especially early on, that really shows you the progress you're making as you're going up the ranks. As you start off as a qualified ambassador and work up to super and bronze, you can really see every time you get a sale, it ups your percentage of how close you are to the next rank. Now, when you are higher up, when you're a platinum or a gold, that percentage doesn't jump as high. But that is a great thing to point out to newer users because it really shows them how close they are to their next rank.
And I wanted to talk about Elizabeth's. I was going to type up an answer, but I was going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Her thought or thing to talk about is discounts, coupons. Black Friday is probably the best example of this because Black Friday we have a bunch of coupons and discounts that you can type in the coupon section at checkout. What happens then is the product is discounted before the sales point. Meaning, if you have $100 and you have a $10 discount, instead of getting a $100 product, you're actually getting a $90 product. Every company would do that. Anytime you have a discount, these sales points will be deducted from the product. I hope that made sense, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and so that's kind of how we stick to what Clayton always wanted, is that whatever the price of the product is, the ambassador is always going to get credit for that amount of points. And so, when we have RS or RPS sales, it's the same thing. But Clayton's big thing is you are being rewarded for the amount of income that's going to the company, basically. And so it always is going to correlate the same way. Um, Another thing we have here is CSP. We got PSP and then QRSP again. Again, when you are training somebody or when you are a new ambassador, please make sure people are deep diving into what these things mean. You don't have to memorize it. I keep this sheet up on my computer year around, and I will bring it up when I'm meeting with people just to double check that I know it. But it is good for people to know that these are not acronyms that they're not allowed to know what it stands for. At no point in time are we trying to hide it. They just need to know where to look. And so that is where this almanac is so useful. I do want to bring up something that has been impacting people more and more, and it is customer sales points. And this is something that will be gone over when we do the comp plan, but I want to touch on it really quickly, especially for existing ambassadors. Customer sales points are how many basically sales points you're getting from customer purchases. That means somebody who is not an ambassador and is purchasing products. They are purely a customer. They are just here to buy and take the products. They're not in it to get any rewards in any sort of way. That number, the percentage of points you're getting, sales points, has to stay above 55% of your total volume. And so something that we've seen a lot is that people will try to convert everybody into an ambassador. And that's a lot more common to what you see in other MLMs, is you want everybody to be an ambassador because everything, comes up and whoever's at the top benefits the most. One of the things that is specific and special about Root is that Root benefits from just normal customers. You get the most points as an ambassador, the most earnings from from just a purchase, because that's where you earn 15%. Okay. One key thing to always pay attention is that your CSP is not getting too low. If it starts getting around 60% or 65%, that means you have a lot of ambassadors underneath you and not a lot of just plain customers. And so a good thing to go do is maybe go work an event and get new people that are just customers. The ambassador program is not necessarily for everyone because some people just want to buy a bag of coffee and they don't want to know about it, the whole other system. Um, and so I just want you all to be aware of that and know that. Um, hey, Dylan, Kelly has called me 3 times, so I need to take this probably.
Yeah, I'll keep going. Let me do this. Get here. Okay. Make sure everyone can see my screen. Going back to the statistic page. Okay, to kind of go into what he was talking about further, I just want to point out a couple things with CSP and QRSP. CSP is customer sales points, obviously, qualified root sales points. The need is going to show up for your next level. That need is taken out of both QRSP and CSP. So the first level you'll get into is a super ambassador, and that's going to have 300 points required. That's also going to be in the comp plan. That will show up here. As we mentioned, one sale, the average sale is $150. So if you have one sale as an ambassador, you'll have 150. The need is 300, 150. So that means your to-go will be 150. At that point, your percent there will show as 50%. That's something that I did not know anything about when I first joined, and that's why when someone's first becoming an ambassador, it's better to hold off because until there's points here, it won't make sense. I do want to stop here because I think, Duquesne, we've talked about a lot of stuff. If you want to just see if we have questions at this point. Let me stop sharing my screen just for 2 seconds. Can anyone raise their hand, ask questions? If anyone wants to add anything that we need to talk about right now, but I know statistics page is probably the hardest and most confusing to fully understand as a new ambassador. And as an existing ambassador, part of your job is to make sure that they understand that very well in depth. And so I said the 201 is really impressive for you guys understanding this.
I like Jill's point. I just wanted to highlight that is the truth is that Clayton? Oh, did Clayton join? Jill's point was that most companies don't want to help you. Most companies just want to sign you up as an ambassador, make you start doing all the work and not do anything about it. The root system really rewards sharing your products with customers and helping people, but also helping your downline with customers.
Mhm.
And so that is a great point to just point out is that, and Clayton always says this, but customers are the backbone of the root system. We have, I don't know our current count. I know 4 months ago, I believe it was 250,000 customers, and only about less than, I think it was like 5 to 6% of those people are ambassadors. So Root is built on customers, and a lot of your all's volume is built on customers because the direct earnings really comes from level one and level two growth. And again, we will learn more about this in the comp plan training, but there are bonuses and there are benefits when you get rankings higher, when you're 6 or 7 levels down. But the way Clayton built this was really for those who are doing the direct work, almost like the sales force, are the ones who are getting the biggest rewards for that sale. And so
Um,
it does benefit people to help those underneath them. And I know a ton of people on here. Verena does a ton of things to train people underneath her. I believe Susanna was on here. I think Dominique was on here. So many Jills on here, but so many people on here do help their communities, and that does benefit them in the long run as well. Clayton, I see you are on here. Do you want to critique our training in any sort of way?
I'll just keep going. Jill
I'm
did
on
mention
the plane. I'm loving it.
um, so to talk about some things, the upgrade button will appear in this section at the bottom. That upgrade button is how someone goes from an active customer to a qualified ambassador. The reason it's not there is because most people, as Duquesne mentioned, over 95% are just customers. There's no reason for having that there. But as soon as you have two sales, meaning one person buys a product and another person buys a product, those are two sales at any time, you'll see an upgrade button pop up here. At that time as well, you'll also start seeing those two people or more appear in your roots community and your branches community. This is going to be one of the best tools once you start getting further into your line of being an ambassador, because it'll show you the root sales points and it'll show you how many you're actually collecting from them. What that means is, let's say I have 5 people underneath me and they're buying products, but only 2 of them are buying them consistently. Well, to get to 300 for the need to become a super ambassador, I have to be able to get it from 3 people because of the rule of our 40-40-20 rule. Any questions on that specifically?
And the 40-40-20 rule, we will be going in deep diving in on the comp plan day as well. And we will go more in detail on the ranking system on that day as well. I will say when ambassadors start, don't stress them out about rankings. Don't stress them out about the 40-40-20 rule. Their key thing should be sharing the products to new customers because they will automatically grow ranks if doing that. And then once they grow and start earning daily bonuses, that's when you can deep dive into the comp plan. But the first training should really just be about the 15%, which is direct sales. And that helps people a lot. If they are experienced in doing network marketing, that might be different because they might have a little bit more experience with that. But for a brand new person who this is very new to, or anyone who's worked in traditional sales, focusing on the 15% is the language that they understand. When Dylan talks with influencers and gamers, he only talks about the 15% first level sales at first.
And the cool thing about that is when they start seeing, because you'll see root sales points here, and you'll notice like, oh, well, Babatha only bought one product, but Babatha is showing 10,000 root sales points. What's happening? So what happens with that is this roots community will show your entire downline and the entire sales points from underneath them going into it. And that's going to be shown here in the max, and it'll be shown here in your have. So all your sales from your downlines will be shown here, and it'll add up into your have. This number will be equal to the number that you have in the max line here.
Hey, Duquesne, I was actually just going to prompt one of you to explain, I think, what you just put in the chat, which I think would be important for everyone to understand about the upgrade. Like, not everyone has to upgrade. So do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, no, and that was thanks, Clayton, for the very leading question. That was a great question. Um, this is the benefit of the system Clayton created again, is that anybody can earn points, so root points by sharing. And so that is a great tool for many people is that you don't have to upgrade to an ambassador to be earning reward points. And you can use those reward points to buy products, to, celebrate anytime we have special sales going on, to buy books. And so Dylan and I actually just talked with somebody who has shared with over 30 people the root products, and they don't want to upgrade to to an ambassador. They don't want to be an ambassador. They just like the products and they share it with people, and they don't spend money on products anymore because they use their monthly earnings, the 15%, to buy for their products, but they have no interest in being an ambassador themselves. And so Clayton and Patrick, thank you for repointing that out. Anybody can share this, and that is why this is such a unique system, is that you don't have to be an ambassador to get the benefits. You can just be a person that loves Rom Roast coffee and shares it with their family, and it basically rewards you, as a lot of companies do, so that you can get discounts or get products for free for doing that. And so that is a great thing to let customers know, hey, not doing the whole ambassador deep dive, but if you like this and want to share it with your family, you can get a discount on the next time you buy a product.
I want to talk
Yes.
about two more things on this page, and then I know it's 12:30, so we'll ask questions. Um, Upgradables is
Can you actually go to Prime Community first?
I was gonna do that next.
Okay, okay.
It's just because we're talking about upgrade. You can
Yeah.
see the people in your downline who are able to be upgraded to an ambassador, and that might be when you have your 201 talk with them. If they show up here, that means they've had the two sales. And again, they don't have to upgrade, but you can always have that conversation with them. And then the last one I do want to talk about is the Prime community. Obviously, RPS, Root Prime Subscription Services, the people in RPS will be shown here, and you have an extra added benefit, which we'll dive up. I'm not going to talk about that now because we'll do the 301 talk, but everyone in your downline will be shown here if they're on Root Prime. And a good hint is if they're in this line, but they're not in the Prime line, it might be a good topic to say, hey, you could save 10% on all your products. I see you're buying monthly products. I can see it right here in your sales points. You might want to join Root Prime. And that's a great way for ambassadors to lead into the training of how to get Root Prime subscriptions. All right,
Yeah, and it's a great time. Patrick worked with our email group to send out an amazing RPS email, I think last week, and the way it explained RPS was amazing. That is the way that I would pitch RPS people because you saw all the benefits of it on one sheet and it was really clean. So if you missed that email, go check it out. And if you didn't get it, you might have not subscribed to those newsletters yet, but it was very useful. Um,
Took my screen share off because I wanted some reads of the comments. Wendy has a great point that our company has no differentiating between ambassadors and customers. Everyone has the same benefits for the most part of buying products. Everything's a free account. So it's the same account as a customer. So just describe to the customer when they're able to be upgraded. hey, it's a free upgrade. You can do what you want to. You don't have to upgrade, but once you upgrade, you start getting these benefits. So Wendy, that's a really great point. There's not been a company I've ever heard of that does the benefits that we have for no cost. But I do want to open up to questions here. If anyone wants to raise their hand, put in the chat,
I will
or
say thank you all for your engagement today too. I know we're lower in numbers, but there's been a lot of great questions and discussions on this. Some from Clayton, but from a lot of other people too.
give it a couple more seconds for questions. And this could be the simplest, easiest question ever that sometimes you think that, oh, I don't need to ask this question. It's a dumb question. But in reality, the more you understand this backend system, especially the stats page, the more you can teach it. So there are no dumb questions. But
And the truth is, it's so important too, because then any new ambassador who's on here right now, or any new ambassador you all are connecting with, know that they can keep track of what's going on. And so they never feel like they, aren't in the know, or that things are going on without them knowing, or that commissions are being calculated without them knowing. They can always go see their points. They can see commissions from past periods. They can see volume from past periods. And that way, they really are running their account like a business, which is the whole goal of this, is once you become an ambassador, if you so want, you can run it as a business. I know Joni was on here at some point, and she is such an amazing example, and a lot of you all on here are, but she treats it like a business, and a very kind-hearted and helpful business, because she is so interactive with all her people. But we want to give you the possibility to do that, which is why we have all these different features. So Elizabeth, a CSP is from people who are not upgraded to ambassadors. So a lot of times ambassadors will buy products. We see this with a lot of people too, who might buy products and give it to all their families. And so they spend $1,000 on products, and most of their volume is coming from themselves, and their upline is not going to necessarily get all of that if that's the only volume they're getting, because again, that person is an ambassador. So you still get the 15% for it, you still get the volume, but the CSP is dedicated for people who have not upgraded to an ambassador account. They are people who are still just customers, and they are not necessarily getting as many of the payout benefits and bonuses that an ambassador would, which is why that 55% was built in, because Clayton wanted to protect the company and make sure that the company was always at a healthy place, so that there's enough money to always give to the ambassadors and cover that, which, deep diving a little bit too much into it, but from the finance side, that 55 percentage, if 55% is coming from just normal customers, the company always has enough to reward ambassadors.
um, okay, I'm gonna keep going into the document section to keep us moving along here.
I wanted to do genealogy real quick and just knock that out. All I really wanted to show Dylan was that people could,
It might be.
uh,
I got you. I'll share it.
that they can
Um,
download CSV.
So genealogy, I'll come from statistics to genealogy. Your community is obviously shown here, but there's some cool tools in this section. Obviously, I'm on my root account for the company, so you can't see this, but there's an export to CSV, and you can take all of your community and it will download to a exportable spreadsheet. And so let's just say, for an example we just gave, if there's someone here who is not on root prime, so you want to maybe talk about root prime to select people, or maybe you see upgradables, you can take this CSV and see who's not on the root prime compared to your root prime list, email them specifically about joining root prime and the benefits. You can forward them the RPS page that our marketing team has so graciously made. This is just a very handy tool that I don't think a lot of people have actually utilized. And if I'm missing anything, Duquesne, that you want to add into it, please go for it.
No, that was all. Is that is a perfect way for your first level to get their contact information in case you don't have it. And so and for those that have been here a while, we used to share more information. We had to get compliant in US and EU law, so we're only legally allowed to show the first level's information. But for those of you who are signing up a lot of people underneath you, that is great to have so you can pull a spreadsheet with all their contact informations. It is also super important for those that are signing up ambassadors to teach their ambassadors that because then they are, even if Bianca signs an ambassador up underneath her, she might not have direct access to all these customers. But if she teaches the ambassador underneath her how to do this, then they can still have all that information and be able to do email funnels, outreach, whatever it is.
One thing I do want to kind of give a hint to, Duquesne, what if we had a coupon for customers who haven't really bought before, but you don't know how to email them all together? What if possibly you could export all your first downline and say, hey, please share out this welcome back coupon. It's a one-time use coupon. Share it to your downlines and export to CSV. You can teach this very simply. And the people who have not bought from you in probably months at a time, maybe even years, you can re-engage with them from this section.
And Elizabeth, so one more time, anybody that is labeled as a customer goes towards CSP points. If the ambassador itself buys products, that is what doesn't count towards CSP. Now, if everybody underneath you upgrades to an ambassador and they're all buying products, then you have no CSP. So hopefully that helps. All right, on the document still.
Okay, because I know we'll have questions probably after these.
Yeah, I was going to try to leave like 10 minutes at least for questions, just as frame of reference.
Gotcha. Okay, so the first one I pulled up already, I'm not going to click into it. When you go to compliance, we have videos on our Root YouTube by Anime on there. Root Compliance and Root Universities will be on here, so you can find that. I think that's one of the best places to start as an ambassador, because remember, as an ambassador, you represent the company, and so the laws that you are selling in for the countries have to be compliant because you are now a sales force of the Root brands. So compliance is key as an ambassador.
And I know that especially in the EU, it's a big concern to make sure we get a lot more compliance questions from the EU than the US. In the US, it's a little more like the wild, wild west sometimes. But in the EU, we always want new and potential ambassadors to feel confident that we will help them with compliance. And so, again, you don't have to, the compliance is not there to scare people. It's there to provide a tool in case you all have ambassadors who are worried and who, want to be extra safe. We are always here providing tools for you all to follow to help you out to the best of our ability.
To keep moving along here, I'm only going to pick and choose a couple of these. So if I miss one that you want to talk about, Duquesne, please let me know. The Root Brands presentation overview is probably the best way for ambassadors to share information about the company and the products. Obviously, as you can see me scrolling, you can see information about the products. Greatly designed by our marketing team, Sheridan specifically. If you're watching this, Sheridan, thank you. But it goes into the other brand companies, such as Clean Spirits, Rom Roast, Ella Pure, and so on. So this will be a great overview to train new ambassadors. That's a great area to learn. Again, it's right here, Root Ambassador presentation.
And just as a reminder, I think this is one of the first things you should give to an ambassador that is signing up. So if somebody has just upgraded to an ambassador, this is similar to the comp plan page where to print it out and just have is great. Having a binder of this or a copy on your computer so that you can always have it and reference back to. You don't need to force yourself to become experts on every products. You should learn them as well as you can, but there is always a use to have something that can give you a reminder or help you educate. Dylan has got pretty good with coffee, but he doesn't ever like claim to be an expert on that. And so he will sometimes bring up the PDP page on Romroast and say, look at all this great information. And so same way, that presentation overview is just a great starting point.
It also is a great way to really tell someone the scope of what we offer as a company. Because a lot of people see us as a supplement company. A lot of people just see us as a health and wellness, and that's really not what we are. So as an ambassador just starting out when you're training them, that's a great way to get into that. I'm gonna actually skip over these because we've seen a lot of these, and we're gonna deep dive into these. But here's where you'll find out about the root rewards, commissions, plans, and in other languages too. But you can see the RPS compensation, the root rewards, FAQ page, which I'll just open that one up. These are questions people ask all the time. And look at that. One of the main questions we always get asked is the 40% rule, which we just discussed. But I know we'll dive into those more, so I'll skip that for now. Product marketing cut sheets are the way to find out about products in a deeper dive and singling out products. So I already have the crush cut sheet here. And if someone is just into health and wellness for fitness, maybe the presentation document is too much information and you want to just sell certain products. The PDP page is great for everything like Duquesne said, but we also have taken out marketing cut sheets that anyone can use and print out in whatever language and sell the products with deep information. Cool thing about this, we also have another section for dosage. A lot of people ask questions about how to take a product, and that is just found right underneath the product marketing cut sheets. That'll be for every product that we have, and if we make new products, we'll have new dosage and marketing cut sheets. And then I wanted to point out too, because our marketing team really kicked butt here, but we have cut sheets for the brand companies in a different design. That way it's not the same look and feel as the root ones, but you can still sell it out or hand it out the way you should. Cool thing with these brand companies, we've kind of changed the look and feel of that. So it has the dosage as a one-stop shop page. The Elapure skincare is obviously different because it's not ingestible, but we talk about the ingredients and benefits of the ingredients. So the benefits isn't about the product benefit. It's compliant for the fact that it's talking about the ingredient itself and what that can do. And then
I want to pause real quick too, just to over explain everything. So again, the top half of what we were showing you is really kind of useful things for ambassadors to know and be educated on. Once Dylan got to cut sheets and some of these product company specific cut sheets, these are good for ambassadors to educate, but these are really materials used so that ambassadors can start growing their community. And so having ambassadors knowing that this is where you can find cut sheets, we are not trying to send people out there on their own without any information. And so we do have information that is a great starting point for people to pitch products and to educate them on. Dylan, can you go back to the Clean Spirit cut sheet? It's your fifth, or that one works. Imagine how helpful it would be for a new ambassador to have a little printed out sheet of this when they are sharing with a friend or family member what this is. Or when they're working an event, and instead of having to memorize all this, they have that there to help them and also be able to have the customer, read it and make them feel more official. And so I'm just letting you all know why these things are beneficial to ambassadors. I want to keep making those connection points. They are so useful for people to use to grow their business, to grow and share the products.
I just want to point out too, we do have a very detailed list of the DRC genetics testing panels. And I know that some people have questions on how to talk about them, and that can be kind of a hard subject to go into. So we have breakdowns of everything. So in case you're trying to sell those or an ambassador underneath you has no idea how to sell a genetic panel, we do have information here for that too. And then I'm going to stop sharing now because I've gone through.
Yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to think we'd cover today. Again, there is a 301 and then there will probably be a 401 as well. So don't think that we're definitely covering the comp, and then we want to cover a little bit more in depth of like how to, recognition page, how to use tokens better, whatever that is. So there is more to come, but that's where we'll stop today. I see Nurse Christie's hand. Do we have to ask her to unmute? Oh, she got it.
Morning, everybody. I just wanted to say that having the binder with all the different cut sheets is very helpful. And when you get used to flipping through the pages or even having your tabs, like tabs, you can get to the different pages to answer questions very quickly that you can't. It takes more time to log into the computer, then find the right document page, then get to the right product. And all of that is time where the person who you're on the phone with or that you're trying to help is wondering why it's taking you so long to answer these questions. So I would suggest that everybody print those out as Dylan and Duquesne had suggested. It's very worthwhile.
Yeah, it's nice to have a real life example. So thank you for that, Nurse Christy. I do think when people are able to see a printed out version of things too, I know we're very modern nowadays, but a lot of people still like the paper vibes. We still bring brochures and paper copies when we do events every time.
Yeah, I have a set that just sits on my desk also that I have personal notes like the cost of each product. If it's in a set, which sets it's in, like for Clean Slate, for instance. So which sets can you get Clean Slate in? That way, if I'm talking to somebody, I don't have to go back and forth on the computer. I can look at 3 different pages almost at the same time because I've made notes on my cut sheets that for my own personal, not to share to other people, but for my own personal knowledge. And if you're new to the company, or new to working a business, it will help you learn all of the different products, a lot easier.
Thank you. Jennifer had her hand up and she put it down, so I want to check on her, and then I see Susanna, and we'll get her real quick. But Jennifer, was your question answered before we move on?
No, but I probably shouldn't ask in this.
How are you?
Okay. Feel that was Clayton unmuting. Jennifer, yeah, message me and I can help out with that then.
Thank you kindly.
Okay. And then Dylan, how do you ask people to unmute? Oh, she got it anyways.
Okay, darf ich?
Yes.
Okay, Roland, super. Okay, ich möchte erstmal Danke sagen dafür, dass ihr diese wichtigen Aspekte nochmal hervorhebt, wie wichtig das ist, dass wir unsere neuen Kunden und Partner an die Hand nehmen. Und ich möchte jeden ermuntern, weil ich mache seit 37 Jahren nichts anderes als das, was wir hier tun. Und ich liebe es, für mindestens 4 Wochen jeden Partner an die Hand zu nehmen, ihm alles zu zeigen, wo er was findet, weil diese 4 Wochen sind so elementar für die Zukunft jedes Einzelnen von uns. Und deswegen nicht nur einfach jemanden das Produkt zu empfehlen und einzuschreiben, sondern ihn auch ein Stück zu begleiten, weil das werden die Partner fürs Leben, mit denen wir hier ja, Root einfach in die Welt bringen. Und ich möchte jeden ermuntern, sich diese 4 Wochen Zeit zu nehmen. Ja, weil dann sind die Menschen ausgebildet, sind bereit, weiterzugeben und mit uns das weiter zu duplizieren in die Welt. Und wir brauchen jetzt ganz viele Menschen, die ja einfach das in die Welt geben. Danke an euch, Duquesne, und danke auch für Clayton, dass Clayton noch da ist. Und wir vermissen euch. Wir würden euch gerne in Germany wiedersehen. Und ja, danke für alles.
Thank you for that. And yeah, and I've seen some of the ways that you do your trainings and kind of getting people caught up in the system, and it seems to work really well. So, there are a couple people out here that I know are extremely helpful, from Susanna to Jill to Joni, who have this down. Like they know what they're doing, and I'm sure they would offer tips for you if you had questions. And they're also they share a lot of their ideas on Facebook too. So that they're not hiding it, but they have good training systems in place. And I know there's others, but those are the ones I follow on Facebook. So that's what I know. Awesome. I think we will probably end there. Please, if you all have questions on the comp plan, because this was helpful for last time, people messaged us some questions. And so we were able to build that into this training. And so going over acronyms was one of the things that somebody had brought up to me. And so I'm glad we could add that in. So please reach out with any comp plan questions. We are trying our very best to answer anything beforehand, but it helps a lot if we know. And so send us our questions. I can make up an agenda, and then I'll put that in front of Clayton so he knows what he can go over. We probably won't do it next week. May is very busy. We'll see with Clayton what time it is, but as always, we'll communicate with you when the comp training will be, and we'll probably put it in some of our ambassador groups earlier on because we know that's a huge topic. So we'll try to communicate that even earlier.
Well, that's a good stopping point. Thank you everyone for the call. I think this is actually very helpful. Even myself going through the stats page while Duquesne was talking about some things, I still learn things every time we go through this. So it's amazing to see the things that even I like miss. Thank you everyone and have a great day.
Bye, y'all. Thank you for the engagement.